and see what we get. And while that's rendering, I'm just going to go through a few shots I done excuse me, using this light technique. This one here was created, all of these images except where I specify were created using Uberenvironment and a specular spotlight. In this case, the specular light is pretty much, it's to the right of the camera, but facing her face. So we catch the specularity in her face and a little bit over here on her hip and her hand and arm. Like I said, generally I want to go where, and I know there's poke through there, I want to go where the body is facing, which in this case would be the left. But if that were the case, you'd kind of lose a lot of it in her face, which I wanted to catch. So we broke the general guideline and went to the right for this particular image. You're going to see Marie a lot in these pictures. I didn't realize how many renders I had of her using this light technique, and it almost looks like it's almost exclusively Marie. But she's a really great character. I love rendering her, which is why there's so many. So let's move on to render 2, Marie, surprise. Same light setup. There's Uberenvironment providing the light, which this is before I discovered that I could turn the percentage down a little bit and make it look a bit better. So this is Uberenvironment at 100%, and there's a specular light. You notice her body is facing to the left of the camera, so I have the spotlight positioned about 45 degrees to the camera, off to the left, and you catch the specularity in her chest, her face, her arm, her wrist and hand, as well as some in her leg. So let me move over to this one. You can kind of tell where the light is in this one, actually, because it bleached out his hair a little bit, which is to the left. Generally, for multiple characters, for something like this, you're either going to want to make a wide spotlight that covers most of what's on the camera side, or do 2 individual spotlights, which would be one for each character, and play with the intensity so they don't overexpose any areas. But this was created using Uberenvironment and one specular light, which is to the left. I wanted to catch most of Marie as Mr. What's his name? Doesn't matter. He's facing kind of away from the camera anyway, so I wanted to catch Marie, which is facing to the left, so the light went to the left. Moving on to this one. This was done using a little bit of a different technique. It's the same lighting technique. She's facing almost dead on to the camera, but her head is facing to the left, so we went to the right to catch the side of her face that's exposed, and all along here and down in her legs. The only other thing I did with this one was I added a couple of planes. All this clothing is set to ray trace reflections, and having nothing there meant boring reflections. So I added some panes outside the camera frame and angled them into her from the left, right, and in front of the camera, and applied excuse me, textures to them similar to what's in the background. So you catch the reflection in her skirt and top here, and in the boots here. But it's the same lighting technique. I also found that this is rendered with 100% Uberenvironment intensity. The planes on the side block some of the light from coming in, so you get a more softer effect, which is a little dark, but it worked. So moving over to this one, same light technique again. There's a specular light, which is to the left of our camera, facing the character at about 45 degrees to the camera, and Uberenvironment. No, I just told a lie. In this particular render, it's to the right of the camera. I would have went to the left to catch the figure's specularity, but I wanted to catch the water behind her, which could have been done with 2 specular lights, but I said, hey, why not use one? And I placed that to the right of the camera, facing the character and catching the specularity in the water. And then Uberenvironment provided the light. The only other thing different with this one is I did put a low intensity spotlight shining into up here to catch everything in here, as it's kind of enclosed and the light doesn't get in there very well. So moving on, same technique with this one, specular light and Uberenvironment. She's almost facing dead on with the camera, so it wouldn't really matter which direction you went, for left or right. I went to the right, just because she is facing a little bit to the right. When in doubt, follow your characters, generally. So I positioned it to the right, and Uberenvironment got the light for the scene. And again, Marie, tired of seeing her yet? Hope not, because there she is again. Same thing. This was actually one that this is the third attempt I've made at creating this tutorial, and nothing seems to work. So I'm hoping this one works. So she's facing a little to the left. We have our specular light to the left, and it catches all your specularity in here, and Uberenvironment lights the scene. 100% Uberenvironment intensity. Forgot to lower it. Oops. Still looks like a good render though. Same thing with this one. Look, it's not Marie. Except there's an added spotlight in the back. Now this is, remember I mentioned about if you have your light set to a bluish, set your specular lights to a bluish as well. They don't have to be the exact same values, but this is an application of that. I have Uberenvironment providing the light on her, which is tinted. Oh, I just took some of the red out basically until I got a color of cyan that I was happy with, and or a shade of cyan, I should say. And then I just did the same with the specular light, and threw a cyan colored spotlight in the back to catch the background. But same technique, and it's not Marie. I'm going back to this one just to show you that this works on other characters other than Marie, because we're back at Marie again. This was another one I done using the same light technique. Spotlight to the left, or to the right, sorry. Her body's facing the right of the camera, and about 45 degrees. Shines in, catches all your nice specularity in her face, and down along here, and in the shirt, and a lot in her hair as well. This one used to Uber hair. So we got a nice bit of specularity up there, and then Uberenvironment provides the light. Excuse me. This was done with the same technique. The only thing with this one is I don't really have my characters facing anywhere. What do I do? Well, basically the rules don't apply at all, and well, they kind of do. You can go to the left or the right, really. I went just a tad to the right for this one and opened up the spread angle to capture the whole scene in the specular spotlight. And it was pretty evident where you catch it. It's all along here and 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 here. It's everywhere. Excuse me. But yeah, and then Uberenvironment provided light, and that's it for that scene as well. Same thing here. She's facing the right, so we put a spotlight to the right, cut the specularity on her, and Uberenvironment provided us with the light. And I'm pretty sure I did lower the intensity here. She looks a little dark. Either that or it got diffused by the trees and everything. I'm not sure which. This was done rendering in the same light setup. Specular light in this case is pretty much completely facing her to catch it all down along her body. It's a fairly widespread angle as well to illuminate her entire figure and bracelets and all that. So we move on to another Marie. This was done again, same technique. Uberenvironment, I did drop the intensity a little bit on Uberenvironment for this one, but there's a specular light that's to the right. She's facing a little to the right. Anyway, I wanted to catch the specularity along here, particularly for the tears. But again, two lights, specular and Uberenvironment. Move on to this one. This was the second one that I tried to make for our tutorial when it didn't work. This is rendered at 100% Uberenvironment intensity as well, which is a little, you can see she kind of plums up. If I were to have dropped the intensity down to about 80%, you'd get a little bit more dark in her skin. She wouldn't be as, I don't know how to explain it. It looks plumish to me. But yeah, this, like I said, this light technique is not something that would be for, you know, the be-all, end-all of light techniques. It's an easy way for you guys to get great renders with very minimal light effort. or effort on the lighting side of it. It's not the end of it either. I mean, I'd rendered this one and I thought, hey, I could do better with that. So I did. This was done using more of a traditional light setup where we have a spotlight to the right, catching your shadows along her nose, and it's the exact same render. I just tweaked the lights around a little bit. And you bring out the shadow here and add another one here, and you get a couple on the straps as well. And then there's a backlight to catch your bit of illumination along down her arm and her cheek. But I mean, like I said, this light technique will get you good renders, and from there you can build off of that and create even better renders. So that being said, oops, spoiler, let's go check out our buddy render. Pretend you didn't see that. So it's done rendering, and bam, there you go. 2 lights, one specular and Uberenvironment. A lot of portraits you would want to have a backlight. Uberenvironment set to white. You notice I forgot to explain that. I did not apply any of the presets, which you find over here, like cage, park, or anything like that. I didn't apply that. I just left it completely white. This is why, for portrait renders anyway. You see these little white lines here that almost look like a backlight? That's done by Uberenvironment. The only drawback with this technique, obviously, is you don't get very interesting shadows. You do get a bit from the ambient occlusion, but there's nothing that's super visually interesting. But the quality of the render, you get. And then it's up to you from there to make it visually interesting with your shadows and stuff. This is probably not going to be the last tutorial I do. I am probably going to do another one doing a more traditional light technique like this, where you would have what's called a 3-point light setup. A key light, which in this case would be the spotlight that is to the right. Normally a fill light, which would soften up the shadows and illuminate the part of her face that's not caught by the key light. In this case, Uberenvironment was my fill light. And then the other light in the 3-point light setup will be your backlight here. So I may do another tutorial, and I probably will, sometime in the future, covering that kind of aspect. And I will probably do another one as well, covering the Uber area lights. But, that being said, this tutorial, like I said, is just meant to get you guys creating good quality renders from a very simple light setup. And then what you do with it from there, I mean, the possibilities are endless. This is kind of, this will get you to good quality, and then you tweak it and adjust the intensities and all that, and then you make it a great render. But this tutorial will get you to this level of good render. So I hope you guys got something good out of this, and I hope you get your renders going. I'd love to see them. Post them in on the forums. I'm in there all the time, as you guys know. You can reach me anytime if you had any questions or suggestions. Just email me at thyrank@hotmail.ca. That's THYRANQ@hotmail.ca. But thank you guys for watching. Fire up your render engines and get this going. I want to see what you guys create. Take care. Happy rendering.